Welcome once again to the Football Fandemic, where we are on our live stream here for the third week. This week, we're going to talk about the AFC South, preview that upcoming NFL season, cover some news and a lot more, so stick around as we do that. All right, I'm here with our two co-hosts, Josh Wahaupt and Brandon Colmark. Guys, how are you this fine? What is today? Thursday? This fine Thursday. I had to think.
It's Thursday before 4th of July. Always a good time.
It is. Are you guys big 4th of July celebrators?
No. I mean, my friends and I will get together probably just to like eat burgers or whatever. But I mean, we kind of plan that, but that's it. My parents are gone, so.
Gone? Where to?
They went to, for their 25th, technically, but it's their 25th and a half. They turned 26 this year, but last year they were supposed to go, or sometime, whatever. They went to Alaska, and then for the next 5 weeks, and then they're going to, well, during that time, they're going to be doing missionary work at church in Palmer. My dad's going to be preaching there and stuff, so it's kind of a vacation. It's kind of a work thing, so.
So Josh is going to be home, and you know all those 1980s party movies where the child has like these huge parties at their house, and then, you know, Weekend at Bernie's, and there's a dead guy, and that's all going to be happening at Josh's house. Brandon, how about you? Are you a big 4th of July guy?
Not typically. I have participated in 4th of July festivities in the past.
I have recognized America's independence.
Since then, we rescued a dog in October who is not keen to fireworks. And
I thought you were going to say he's not much of a patriot.
Yeah, he's probably not much of that either. He's a Packer.
I see what you did
there we go. Yeah.
I see what you did there.
I'm so also we're probably going to spend our time away with our dog, where we're not going to get a ton of explosions.
Yeah, good luck finding that place wherever away is. We're not big 4th of July people. I mean, we buy a few little fireworks for the kids. You can't even buy like firecrackers anymore, at least here in Illinois. They don't sell firecrackers because I guess that's too dangerous. So you can buy different little things that pop, and you can buy those little snakes that grow and sparklers. And we typically buy a few little things like that for the kids, but we're not these people who will spend $1,000 and buy like tons of crazy fireworks and, you know, blow up stuff. That's just never been us. So, and I also hate going into huge crowds and sitting there watching fireworks. Although I like fireworks, I like big fireworks shows to watch, but I just don't want to be around all the people in the cars. So, hermit right here. All right. So anyway, that's coming up, but we have something that's more exciting than that, and that is the AFC South preview. We've already done the AFC North, the AFC East, right? And now today we hit the South, and then West next week, or whenever we're next on air. But the South is particularly dear to my heart. Before we get to that, I think we should see if there's any news. And you know what I did today, or shall I say didn't do? That is pull up my drive. So somebody else lead us off on what's some of the big news. I'm going to leave it to one of you guys who have that document open.
Well, I think the biggest news is happening probably while you're on vacation, Matt, but they announced that the NFL owners will meet. I don't know where they meet, but they meet on July 20th to decide on the Commander sale.
Oh, they did. And what did they decide?
Oh, we don't know. It's July 20th.
Oh, for some reason I was still hearing while you were gone on vacation, they met to decide. And so that has not happened yet.
Yeah.
Not surprised. Not surprised. What else? What else is going on in the world?
We have Ryan Mallett, former NFL QB, that passed away this past week from drowning.
Yes, that's sad. Only 35, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a little story, not really a good one, but a story nonetheless about Ryan Mallett. So my dad, you know, he travels for his business, or for his job, you know, Dallas. He used to go to Baltimore for their headquarters, whatever. And he was on the plane with, like, sitting next to Ryan Mallett, and Ryan Mallett spilled his beer on him, and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, dude. I'll give you Ravens tickets." And then my dad's like, "It's all right. I'm a Redskins fan." And he took the tickets back.
He didn't want anything to do with that. That was back when they were the Redskins. No longer. I finally got the document open here. It looks like the Patriots have extended Devontae Parker for 3 years, right? That's the good news as far as the team we have on here. But then we have, I don't have much to say about Devontae Parker. Good.
Yeah, he's all right.
Good.
He's a good slot receiver. Yeah, Good.
He's
Good
consistent.
for
He's
Mac Jones.
yeah, he's like a Robert Woods sort of deal. No one ever hears about Robert Woods, but he's in the ground consistent year after year after year.
Yeah. Well, the next bit of news we have is a sad one for the AFC South in particular, although there's some other people that are going to be involved in this whole thing. But Isaiah Rodgers, who was probably our top cornerback heading into the year, was caught gambling somehow. Don't know exactly the whole story behind it, but looks like he's going to be suspended for the year. So it looks like he was gambling on NFL games.
So
I think that
For
was
the Colts specifically, I think every game he predicted Matt Ryan would be like half an interception plus.
not
but
good for the team.
in a more serious thing, the rule for gambling in the NFL, quote unquote, the rule I guess is under current rules, NFL players are allowed to place bets on non-NFL games, NBA, MLB, college, whatever. They're prohibited to do it at an NFL facility, including their locker room, a team flight, team hotel, etc. And if they bet on non-NFL games at work, so the team facility, team flight, whatever, they'll receive a 6-game suspension, and there's no betting on NFL games at all because they play in the league.
Right. Well, we hate to see. I hate to see that. This is a pretty bad year for him to do this too, because he's in a contract year. One, two. We had kind of a wide open trying to figure out who was going to be our cornerback. So now all these other guys get like just tons of playing time, not just in training camp, but for a whole year. And so it's going to be very unlikely, especially if he was like gambling, like wagering that the Colts would do bad, but that Ryan,
And then he
Ryan
got burnt by some corner wide receiver on purpose. So that would be the worst thing.
So yeah, it's unlikely that I'm not going to say unlikely that he'll be back, but it definitely makes it harder for him as we head in. So we may have seen the last of Isaiah Rodgers, although he was our most underrated player. Somebody just like a couple weeks ago or a week or so ago said, most underrated player on the Colts, Isaiah Rodgers. Well, great. He's gone for the year. No more. Hey, let's go ahead and get to our divisional breakdown. We're going to spend some time talking about, before we go to that, but let's do this. Let's just look at this overall. We got in this AFC South, of course, we have the Houston Texans, who had the number 1 overall pick until Lovie Smith said, hey, you know what? We can beat the Colts in the very last seconds of the very last game on a 4th and 20. And give up this first round pick. Yeah. We'll go for number 2. And so they lost
his job at the same time.
Well, he was already losing his job before that. And I think that's why he did it. He said, yeah? He's like, watch this.
I don't have that on
I think the headline on that, Matthew, was a bit incorrect. He wanted so badly for the Bears to be the worst team in the NFL. He won a game just so Bears could be number 32.
He definitely had some reasoning going on in there. His owners, not so excited about it, but they had already fired him. I believe they'd already let him know that he was not coming back, and this was his response. Is like, oh yeah, well, here's something for you as I leave. So the Indianapolis Colts, the Jacksonville Jaguars, who right now are the darlings of the AFC South in everyone's eyes, and then the last couple of years it has been the Tennessee Titans. The Texans and the Colts, unfortunately, have been in the bottom half of the 4. So we're going to talk about these 4 teams, not necessarily in this order, but why don't we go ahead and Josh, who would you like to start with? You had somebody coming up.
Yeah, I guess just go in alphabetical order.
So we are going in this order.
We're gonna go with the Colts. No, we're going with the Colts.
Well, they are after Houston, Indy, Jackson.
I was going. Yeah, we could go Houston. I was going.
Jay, that's what order they are here, right?
Yeah, I was going by team name, not city
or state. Or state.
You know what?
We'll start with Houston now.
Yeah.
We'll start with you. Okay. So we'll start with Houston. We'll go look a little bit at their roster. I'm going to let Josh talk about it a little more in depth in just a second, but I want to kind of throw my overall kind of sense of this team out there. And the sense of the team that I have is They have CJ Stroud, which no one is super excited about unless you live in Texas. I haven't heard like people around the league being like, man, I'm intrigued by this CJ Stroud. That's not what we're hearing. People in Texas are hoping that he's going to be great. So they've got him.
Can I speak on behalf of that as someone that lives in Texas?
You sure may.
I have not heard about him in Austin. We're 2.5 hours away from Houston, and he has not reached the hype 2.5 hours away.
Yeah. It's funny because you have Bryce Young. Everybody's talking about, he's small, but they took him at 1 overall, and people are projecting him to be the best rookie quarterback. A lot of people going the safe route, or if they're not going him, they're like, I'm intrigued by Anthony Richardson, what he's going to do, what his upside could be, but I don't hear anything about CJ Stroud. So we'll see what happens there. But they've got him, and they've got Will Anderson, which was a good get by them, and then they have D'Amico Ryans. Not Damian. That's the coach. They have Damian Pierce, their running back, who's been a bright spot for them. And then they have D'Amico Ryans, the coach that they just got, right? Is this his first year? Last year was his first year.
No, this is his first year.
This is his first year, right? He just came from 49ers, and he brought over some people with him, and that is a reason for hope there. So for me, when you look at this team, I don't even know if I count C.J. Stroud, except people are going to be watching and wondering. But you've got Will Anderson, D'Amico Ryans, and Damian Pierce. That's it, and the rest of their roster seems pretty bare. So I don't expect a lot out of them this year. But Josh, tell us a little more what you see in the overall roster.
Kind of like Matthew said, I see it as a very bare, very under average team. But I mean, you still have studs like Damian Pierce. They just traded or signed Robert Woods. He's still, solid, and he's still reliable. You still have, you had John Mechie, who was on IR last year. He was a rookie last year because of cancer. And then you have probably their best receiver on the team, Amari Rodgers. Brandon could talk about that a little bit.
Do me a favor real quick, Josh. Hold control and zoom in on that page so that our viewers who are watching this, it's not so small there. Get that big enough that they can see those names. There we go.
So they have some average receivers. They signed Dalton Schultz, which is probably the top tight end in the free agency last year from Dallas, or from this past offseason from Dallas. So they got a weapon for CJ Stroud. They still have actually one of the best offensive lines in the AFC South. They still have Larry Tunsil at tackle, one of the best tackles. They just traded for Shaq Mason, which is a reliable guard from either New England or Tampa Bay. They still have Titus Howard, and they have Kenyon Green. So they have a solid interior line and a solid outside offensive line. They just need to have a reliable quarterback and a reliable coach to make it work. Like you mentioned, Will Anderson, we don't know what he's going to do, but he was a third overall pick for a reason, so he's got to do something great. His talent is through the roof, so I don't see him, doing bad. I think he helps his team a lot.
Yeah. And when you're talking about these guys, go ahead and hover over their names so we can all see that picture of that guy as you're talking about him. I like that. So this is rookie. This is Will Anderson, overall. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. You still have solid names on the defensive line as well with Jerry Hughes, which Matthew's familiar with from a while ago from the Colts. He's a solid player. I believe you signed Hassan Ridgeway and Sheldon Rankins in the offseason from the Colts and I think the Saints for Rankins. But solid defensive tackles for both of those guys. The linebacker core is probably the weakest part of this team, in my opinion. You have some names that they play, but they don't play at a high level. A high level like let's say Fred Warner or somebody. You have Denzel Perriman, you have Christian Kirksey and Corey Littleton over here, which are three great linebackers to have. But they're not going to be making like amazing plays on every play of the down, every down like Fred Warner would be. You still have I still have an okay secondary. You got Derek Stingley from last year, so he's probably gonna, get a boost and breakout year this year. Jimmy Ward and where's he at? Jimmy Ward and Desmond King are both solid, reliable free safety and cornerback, and then you have Steven Nelson and Shaquille Griffin, who they just signed in the offseason, which are pretty good, average to reliable cornerbacks. They don't have a terrible team, but they don't have like a team that's going to make them to the playoffs, if that makes sense.
go week by week, your little selection chart thing. We're letting Josh do that because he has the thing that will tell us if we've already picked against or for someone here. We're going to go fairly quickly through these teams and just kind of talk about what we think they're going to do win-loss wise.
So we already went through week 1. Week 2, Colts at Texans. What do you guys think?
Hold on. Week 1, what was it?
It was the Ravens. We already got them.
Ravens
It
win.
was the Ravens, and we said it's a loss, right? I'm writing these down as we go as well.
Just
So
in case. Yep.
week 1, we have a loss for Houston against the Ravens. Do you agree with that, Brandon? Were you here for that one?
Yes, that's good to me.
Okay. And then the second week, we have them against the Colts. First of the interdivisional AFC South stuff here. What do we think?
This is a tough one for me.
Me too.
I mean, both teams are have their weak needs. Unreliability at quarterback in terms of what we've seen them do in the NFL. I don't know if I have a favorite team for this one. It's at Houston. Houston is always a tough opponent for Indianapolis for some reason. I think I'm going to pick Houston in this one.
I think I'm going to pick the Colts on this one. I kind of thought about it while you were talking, but we just talked about the Texans roster, and I think the Colts have a more well-rounded offense and defense. I mean, both, for the Colts, it just matters if their offensive line can put work in, if Anthony Richards is playing or what, but they still have Jonathan Taylor and Michael Pittman, and then they have a solid defensive core. I think the Colts can handle this one.
Exact same reason I'm also picking the Colts, where both of them have question at quarterback, and both of them are going to suffer a good bit of losses against good teams. I think Indy already has a stronger roster apart from those few people I mentioned on the Texans. We just have a stronger roster overall, and especially when it comes to defense and weapons and, including Jonathan Taylor. And so
New coaching schemes.
yeah, both of them have a new coaching scheme. D'Amico Ryans is a defensive guy, and Shane Steichen's an offensive guy, and they both have done great where they've been. It's going to be fun to watch those contests. But yeah, I'm going with Colts on that one too. So we're going to go Colts. So that's a second loss for Houston. Who's their third week opponent? Pump that up bigger. Get that really big. Get that huge so we can see those. Yeah, see those icons there. We got Jaguars. So it's another one. Houston versus the Jags.
I got the
Brandon,
Jaguars.
why don't you start
I got
with
the
this
Jags.
one?
Jaguars.
Jags.
hands
Jags.
down.
Yeah, Jags. I'm also going Jags. So they suffer their third loss, and so far
They
this
lost
feels
again.
right
Lose
where I
again
feel
against-
like they will be.
Yep. Lose against Pittsburgh in week 4 as well.
You agree, Brandon?
Yeah, I was there for that one. That one was
He
good.
was here. He wasn't here for AFC.
Oh,
East.
we already had that one. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Falcons.
Neither of
I see
these
the-
teams are going to be stellar.
Yeah, they don't stick out, but I've been talking about it for a while. I mean, Cody was here talking about it 2 weeks ago, but I see the Falcons in a really weak division in the NFC South. I see the Falcons on a team on the rise if they can finally get stuff together. And in week 5, I don't see the Texans getting things together. I know they have to get it done eventually, but I just don't see it at this point. I think overall the Falcons have a better, just like the Colts, better offense, better weapons, a bit of a better defense, and I think the experience at coach that Falcons have, I think it's Arthur Smith or something like that from Tennessee. I think that it's just the Falcons that win against the Texans.
I see the Texans winning one of these two games against the NFC South before the bye, Falcons or Saints. I have trouble deciding which one.
Yep.
I think the Saints are going to be the tougher team to beat.
Me too. So
I might give the Colts, the Texans week 5 a win,
I can
just
see that.
because I think D'Amico Ryan's defense is going to do that. I don't think it's going to be necessarily C.J. Stroud that makes that game. But let's go ahead and give them a win for week 5
and a loss for
and then
week
a
6.
loss for week 6. Then we hit our
do
bye.
they win in the bye week? Do they lose
They
in the bye week?
definitely lose to the bye.
All right.
Let's see. Who do we have in week 8? The Carolina Panthers. So we got C.J. Stroud 1-2, picks 1-2 against Bryce Young.
Both teams
Bryce
coming off
Young.
a bye in Carolina.
What's tough is Bryce Young doesn't have a ton of weapons around him either. He has Frank Reich as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody's like big on Bryce Young. I don't yet know if I believe it, but at the same time, I don't really feel any strong attraction. What I do feel like Bryce Young has is the ability to like think and adjust more than CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud has to be scripted. He can do what's been planned, but he isn't very good when it comes to making the call himself or like having to think in the moment. I think Bryce Young is better than that. It just comes down to I don't feel really solid about either one of those rosters.
Can we declare this a tie?
Yes.
You know, we
You
can.
actually can. You actually can.
Would we
All
like
right,
to
that's
do a
my
tie
vote.
in these?
That's my vote.
You can do a tie.
Mine is a tie.
That's
Boom.
what yellow.
We're
That's what
going to
yellow.
go
We're
with
calling
a tie, guys. That's what
calling
week
a
is
tie.
this? Week 8. Tie.
Okay, yep.
Oh, man. First tie that we've selected. Nice.
It-
I think
now
the
this
next one is
Week 9 is tough for me based on the leaked footage from Buccaneers camp on all of their quarterbacks hitting
Right.
0% of their passes.
I think
I
this
I think
will
the
be
Texans
another one.
bad.
where the
after a
Texans-
tie. I think the Texans can pull this one out.
You know, I don't think the Texans are going to get too many of this where I think it could be a win. I'm going to give this one to the Texans.
Yeah, stuff coming out of Buccaneers camp is not stellar right now.
I think 10 we can all just immediately say is a loss for the Texans.
Yeah,
we already got it.
Bengals
Yep.
are Bengals are the team.
We come up on another tough one in week 11 though.
I think they beat the Cardinals. They're almost the exact same team.
Will Kyler Murray be back?
Yes, she should be. I mean, I don't think he's out for he got injured middle of the season last year, late. I'd say week 10. So I don't think he should be gone for that long.
You think he'll be back early?
I think he'll be
Okay.
back by week 6 or so. So right around.
I just feel
of course
like
not the Cardinals schedule right around here.
Got
I'm just
busy
not
watching
confident
you
in the
scroll.
rest of the team.
Of the Cardinals.
I think the
Of
Cardinals win this one.
I don't like their offensive line. Their defense has been leaving. D-Hop left. I mean,
They still have a couple weapons in Ertz and Marquise and James Conner. But I see your point. But I think coming off a big old I think this is going to be like a 41-10 or 41-17 loss, and I feel like they're going to be defeated at that point. I think they come off and they don't have the motivation to beat the Cardinals. I think the Cardinals can take this one.
I feel like the Texans will take this one. What did you say, Brandon?
Texans as well.
So we're
yeah,
going
I just
Texans.
don't like the Cardinals for it.
Yeah,
Not at this time.
I think D'Amico Ryans will have the Texans pumped for Arizona. But then in week 12, they'll lose.
Yeah, Jacksonville
Yep.
for sure.
I think they will. Jacksonville's looking better.
Now this is an intriguing game to me because
I think, me too. Yeah, we
Who would
keep
have
talking.
Who would have ever thought we would look at Sean Payton and Russell Wilson and said, this looks like an intriguing game against the Texans. I don't know who.
yeah,
When did
they
we
have a
ever think-
stellar defense.
They do.
And so every part of me wants to root for the Broncos, but I have not seen the chemistry happen between Russell Wilson and Sean Payton and the rest of that team. Because Sean Payton came in and is building a completely different culture. You're not posting stuff on social media. You're not bringing coaches in to build your brand. You're getting into the game and you're working hard so we can win games, which is a Sean Payton old school approach, which I appreciate. But I don't know if a lot of the team is going to rally around that, given the past couple of years of them kind of doing whatever they want. There's going to be some struggle between team and
I think
coach.
because of the last couple of years of doing what they want and having the horrible record after everyone expected more, I think Sean Payton, they could buy into it. Mm-hmm. Even Russell Wilson could, at least for the first year, try.
I would love for that to happen, but I think there's a behind the scenes thing we're missing is a lot of these players building their brand are looking to make more money after they're finished with the game than completely succeed in the game today. It's a very newer school approach. And so I think their brand is more important to them than the Denver Broncos brand.
So you think the Broncos will be as bad or close this season as they were last year?
Yeah, I think 5 to 7 wins.
I can see that, but I actually think you can go ahead because I'm gonna.
Yeah, 5 to 7 wins while they're changing everything around. It's going to take at least a year to switch everything and get everything readjusted the Sean Payton way. And so I do not think it's a stellar year this year. There's going to be growing pains that are needed for the team to succeed in the future.
I don't see it being a great year, but I do see week 13 by week 13. I feel like with Sean Payton, with Russell Wilson. I mean, I know this isn't Russell Wilson of 2010 or 2012 to 2018 or 19 or whatever he was his prime, but he's not the worst quarterback in the league. Sean Payton is gonna turn this thing around, like you were saying, different brand. I mean, he came into when he was with first year of the coach for the Saints in 2006, went from 3-13. The Saints did to 10-6 in his first year, and I feel like it's not that big of a turnaround for the Broncos. But I can see something bigger happening, and I think they at least get a win against the Texans.
That's a tough one for me. So you guys chose opposite sides. That means I have to be the tiebreak, and I look at this one and it's just so much unknown until we see how Sean Payton and that Denver team work, especially, let's just say it, Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. They have to get on the same. And to Brandon's point, it's not just Russell Wilson; it's the whole team has to get on the same page. And then at the same time, D'Amico Ryans, we know he was great in San Francisco, but we have to see him begin to really develop and show some of that here. And so I look at this and I'm like really, really torn. I think I'm going to give this one to the Broncos, though, because I feel like they have to have some success in this season.
Yeah.
This is one of the places where they might have it. I may be wrong when we get there. We're going to give this one to the Broncos, which means it is a loss, right? That's week 13. And then that doesn't bode well because I'm going to start this next one. I think they're going to have a loss to the Jets. I think Aaron Rodgers, with the weapons they have there, is just more than they're ready for yet.
Yeah, we already had that.
Oh, we already had that. So
Yeah.
all that
did
nice
that last week.
out.
Unless Brandon disagrees, we already had that last week because he wasn't here.
Yeah, I mean the Jets are primed for a great season with Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard and
The
Malik
Packers.
Taylor and the Green Bay
Tim
Jets.
Boyle.
Yeah,
The Green Bay Jets.
Adrian Amos, who's now there. So
Yeah, ton of them. Well, let's go on then to week 15. The Titans, again, this was that AFC South division. Mike Vrabel has always seemed strong to me. Now, what I've heard a lot of people saying, spoiler alert, that they think the Jags are going to be the winners this year. I might agree with them on that. And then everybody puts the Tennessee Titans as kind of second in line. And they always cite Mike Vrabel fights hard. Even if he doesn't have a good quarterback, they've got Derrick Henry. The problem is Derrick Henry's getting older. And he's stacked lots and lots and lots of snaps on his body. I do think that the mentality of the Titans is probably, at this point, stronger than the mentality in the locker room for the Texans. But I just don't know what D'Amico Ryans is going to bring there.
Well, we can talk about both, honestly, because we already have the Browns at week 16, so we can just talk about both Titans games at the same time, week 15 and 17.
I think they split.
I do too. I was thinking the same thing.
I think each team wins at home.
Here's my question for you. Who's starting in week 15 and week 17 for the Titans at quarterback?
We don't know.
Will Levis.
Yeah.
You think it'll be Will Levis by that time?
But by that time, the way we've seen things going, it doesn't matter how good the quarterback is. There's so much pressure from the fans, and the coaches just give into it.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it with Justin Fields. You just throw him in. We saw it with Zach Wilson. You just throw him in. These people are not ready to play the game. And I don't think Will Levis is going to be either, but the fans are wanting something different. And management is feeling pressure from that. I
think C.J. Stroud will be playing from the beginning of the year, game one. I don't think that's even a question in Texas. And I think he's going to have more confidence in the game. But I want to say, like you guys, I feel like they'll split. I just don't see which one the Titans are going to win.
I think each team wins at home is my split.
That's me too.
Titans win at home. Houston wins at home.
Yep.
Let's do that. So that means 15 is a loss for the Titans, and 16 we already said was a loss. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 17 will be a win. That leaves us with the Colts and the Texans. I'm going to start this one. I think the Colts still beat the Texans. I think the Colts this year sweep the Texans.
I can say that. I agree with that too. I mean, they're at home this time too, and we already had them winning at Houston last time. I feel like everybody's figured, like every rookie at least, close enough, has figured everything out at this point, and it'll be a game of like who's better at this point. You know what I mean?
What's their record at this point going into the last week, Josh?
4-11-1. kind of average. I mean, kind of not average, but kind of where I saw them at, like 5 wins, 6 wins, 4 wins.
I can see them winning this game, kind of like how they did last season. You're not expecting it to win, but it's just a hard, grueling game of football, and I think the Texans win because we weren't expecting that last season either.
I'm gonna go with Josh though. I'm gonna say even though last time we didn't expect it, I think Shane Steichen's gonna bring something different than Frank Reich, and I think by the end, I think they're gonna be ready to go. So, what did we have for week number 5? I forgot. I didn't write it down here.
Houston wins.
Oh wait,
Houston wins. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I pulled the Colts win. Sorry.
What?
I said I had the Colts winning. I guess it cut out on me because it was lagging a little
No,
bit.
I asked what was going on in week 5, and he said we have Houston winning in week 5.
Oh yeah, we do.
Yep. So we've got.
Well, they cut out.
According to me, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 wins, 1 tie. Well, let's do the ties last.
And 12.
4 what and 1. What is that?
4-12-1.
4-12-1 as their record. Let's see how that stacks up. I don't think that's too far off. I had them at about a 5 win. And
me too.
I think
5-6.
that tie would have been maybe that possible 5th, but we put it as a tie. So
we just started this last year, Brandon, or last week. Sorry, Brandon, because we mentioned the whole Bears going 12-4. Adam Rank.
Adam Rank.
Adam Rank has the Texans at 7-10. By the way, so
yeah, no.
Disagree.
Yeah, me too. We're under the Colts. Colts.
When he listens to this, I want him to know that we're coming for his job. We're a bit more accurate than
we've been at it for the last 2 years, a couple years or so. When he took the Bears 10-6 or something last year. So.
All right, we're going here to the Indianapolis Colts, second in this division alphabetically, and so let's talk just a bit about the roster.
I'll let you start again, this one, Matthew.
I'll start.
I'll let you talk all of it.
Point stuff. Okay. Well, as you can see, 3 quarterbacks. I don't think it's anybody's guessing that Sam Ehlinger is going to have anything to do with this. It's a question of, does Anthony Richardson start day 1 or does Gardner Minshew start a little bit? I'm of the opinion I think they're going to throw Anthony Richardson in game 1.
Me too.
I know that we really have to wait to see what happens in training camp and preseason, because if it's really bad, they could. I'm not saying they wouldn't start Gardner Minshew, but I think Jim Irsay and I think Shane Steichen, they want to get him in there. And they realize with Peyton Manning, you threw him in and he didn't have a great first season, but he had to have those reps. And the one thing Anthony Richardson's missing is experience. It's not that he doesn't have abilities. He just needs to get those reps. And so I think he will be in from week 1. That's my guess. So we got an intriguing quarterback. And like I said before, when I hear people talk about the quarterback, they'll mention Bryce Young, but they almost always mention Anthony Richardson at the same time. And I never hear about CJ Stroud. I never hear about Will Levis unless they're specifically trying to find a way to point them out. So I think everybody's excited, and I think he's going to make for an exciting year. Do I think that will equate to a lot of wins in a division win? No, I don't. I think we're going to have some lumps this season as people are getting together. We may be a little better than people expect, and I would love that. But I'm not going in with like Colts are going to win the whole thing. That's just, he's got some learning to do. And I think he has a great attitude, a great work ethic, and humble, great leadership. I think all signs point to good things. We just got to see some of it happen. We got to get some experience. So we're going to have Anthony Richardson there. Running backs, I think it's no secret Jonathan Taylor's our best, but having Zach Moss back there and Deion Jackson, both good backups. Wide receivers, we always talk about Pittman. Is it Anthony? Yeah. I don't know why that sounded wrong for a second. Michael Pittman. Who's Anthony? Michael Pittman Jr.
Know your team, Matthew.
And Alec Pierce. It's my team. I know. I don't know where I was at. Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce. Michael Pittman Jr., obviously our number 1. Some people claim he's a number 2. We'll see. This is going to be a big year for him, I think. Alec Pierce did great last year toward the end of the year, and I think he'll grow. And I'm excited to see what Josh Downs brings to this. And I know he's a rookie, but he has been getting a lot of notice and hype as that kind of slot guy that's his role. And I think he's going to do great at that. And it's going to open up things for the other two guys. So pretty excited about those three. Behind those three, I don't really, Ashton Doolin, I know that name and have
Michael
seen
Strawn.
him. Michael Strawn's one that I had high hopes for. You guys know on this podcast,
Yep.
I'm like, watch out for Michael Strawn. They call him Mega Strawn. We have not seen that actually play out. And that has a lot to do with, I think he has ability, but he hasn't put it all together yet. And will he? Well, if he's going to, I'm going to say it has to be this year, because if it's not this year, he may not be back. I'm going to hold Michael Strawn in the wings for now. I'm not going to say, I think as much as I was like all about Michael Strawn and watch Michael Strawn, I'm more, I think Josh Downs has him. Josh Downs is higher already on the chart than Michael Strawn.
So, I don't know if you mentioned, I was looking at something else. Sorry. But where would you put Isaiah McKenzie, who guys just signed in free agency from Buffalo, which was a pretty solid, I'd say third receiver.
Yeah, nicknamed the Muscle Hamster out of Buffalo.
Here's what I can tell you. I don't know much about Isaiah McKenzie. I didn't watch a lot of games where he was making huge differences. When I would watch the Buffalo games, it was Stephon Diggs and Gabe, what's his name?
Davis.
Dawson Knox.
Gabe Davis.
Isaiah McKenzie did play some key roles for them.
Yeah, but it wasn't
he is a matchup nightmare.
It wasn't like his name was being called a lot. Maybe he got some stuff, and maybe he'll come in here and do better. So I don't know. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't got to watch any of the, obviously anything that's happened up to this point has not been contact football at all. So when you get to training camp, you get a little bit. And when you get to preseason, you get a little bit. So I may get higher on him as we go. What I'm saying
I'm
is,
going to put
I was just going to say, I think we have pretty good receivers, but we have to see some growth in that whole room with Anthony Richardson. What were you going to say?
I'm going to put a plug for Juwan Winfrey in there. The Colts are trying to be the Indianapolis Packers now as well, signing former Green Bay Packer receiver Juwan Winfrey, who's really only contributed in our game where we beat the undefeated Arizona Cardinals.
Who are all the other Packers we have?
Juwan Winfrey.
I think that's about it.
Okay, I don't think you can necessarily say a team is trying to be another team when they pick up one free agent that's not that great as possible.
That's what Jim Irsay told me on the phone.
Oh, he did he?
Talking.
Yeah. Okay.
So, small plug for him. He probably will not make the roster, but he'll be a solid guy for preseason.
Okay, so in Brandon's opinion, not going to make the roster. Solid preseason guy. Indianapolis Packers. We'll see.
Before we move on a bit more of these players, the NFL we just talked about 30 minutes ago. The Isaiah Rodgers and these Colts players and other players that were gambling, they just announced like a couple of seconds ago that Isaiah Rodgers and Rashad Berry of the Indianapolis Colts are suspended indefinitely through at least the conclusion of the 2023 season and maybe longer.
Yeah, that's kind of what we saw with Ridley too. They said indefinitely. They said it was a year for sure. My guess is it's a year, but it doesn't bode well for him. Sad news. Tight ends, we got some very talented guys. I think when you look at Jelani Woods is like one that I want to see break out. Mo Alley Cox has been there a while and he should have done more by this point, but I hope he continues to grow. And then Kylan Granson, those are the kind of the big three. There's some other names in there, but those are the three that I'm going to be watching. Those are the three I think will surely make the roster. What's our next position group here? Offensive line. Offensive line is one that was great in the past, has not been great the last year or two, and they need to get back to form. They did draft some guys in there. So we all obviously know Quentin Nelson, the guard who went third overall. We all also know our Pro Bowl center, Ryan Kelly. Who has not been great and needs to get back to better. He needs to get better again. And I know last year him and his wife were dealing with some very personal issues that probably threw a big wrench in kind of the game stuff for him as well. But things are good at home now. And I hope things will be good on the field again. Braden Smith on the outside. And Bernard Ryman. Those are two guys that I want to see. Bernard step up.
Yep.
He did fairly good last year in his rookie year, and I expect to see him take growth. And if he does, if him and Braden Smith can like continue to step forward, I think this line will be better. Who did we get this year? Blake Freeland is a guy.
Yep. And Emile Corey, both rookies.
Well, the tackle I'm talking about here, Blake Freeman.
Blake Freeland. Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to see him actually put some pressure on
Raymond.
Not Bernard, not
Brandon
Ryman. I just lost his name. The other tackle,
Brandon Smith.
Braden Smith. Yeah, so I'd like to see him put some pressure there. Defensive linemen, the other people we have in there, Will Fries, those guys. I think we need to have some solid depth with those guys. But going on to defensive linemen, I think you have to start with Buckner, always in there, and I think Kwity Paye has got to get better. He's got to step forward. Who else is on that list?
Grover Stewart and Buckner are probably a pretty solid defensive tackle duo, I'd say.
Grover Stewart, big guy.
The guys you talk about, was it a lot? It was Deo? What's his last name? Deo, right? You talked about him a lot too, right?
Odengbo, yeah. Dio Odengbo, I think has potential to continue to grow, and I think. There was, is it EJ Speed that's going to be taken over where Okereke was?
Yep.
And there's the linebacker place. I think he's going to step forward. I know that we got off defensive linemen to the linebackers. A lot's going to depend on Shaquille Leonard coming back. And right now we still don't know. Shaquille Leonard has to come back and be healthy in order for us to say this is going to be his going forward. If he this year doesn't hardly play any, it's going to be really hard for Colts fans to continue to be behind him. He was great his first couple of years. He was a rookie All-Pro, him and Quentin Nelson, and that was like the first time since the 50s that two rookies did that. But he's been so hurt the last few seasons. He's got to get healthy and get out there and have some production, turn that ball over. He's just so good at making turnovers happen. We've got to see that. Get to the cornerback place. I'm excited about both Juju Brents, but probably more Darius Rush. Just looking at like what Darius Rush has been doing in the practice stuff, he was a later round pick, but he might have been our steal of the draft. Obviously we had Richardson and we had the slot receiver I was talking about, but Darius Rush. I'm excited to see him get in there and get some time playing as well. And so special teams are special teams. I think, did we get a new kicker?
Yep, Matt Gay, like the highest pick kicker like this year overall or something like that. Matt Gay.
He was free agent him, right?
Yeah. Signed him, yeah.
Yeah. So
I think he previously played for the Rams.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I think he will be a good addition. And overall, like I said, I think the roster could be very solid. A lot's going to be, do these people continue to take a step forward? And what do we see different when you have that mobile quarterback? I think that's going to help Jonathan Taylor. I think that's going to help our wide receivers. I think if our defense can continue to be good, our offensive line hopefully will gel. So all in all, I like the roster. It all is going to hang on where Anthony Richardson's at. And this year, I think there's going to be more losses than we would like, but I expect to see growth and excitement. And that's something, just to see excitement. Last year we had Matt Ryan. I'm not going to lie to you. Every week I kind of went into the game feeling like that's what Matt Ryan inspired in me. As much as like I was excited when we got him, when he started playing, it was not living up to the hype. When we had Carson Wentz, I felt the same way. When we had Phillip Rivers, I felt like he was out there trying, but I just felt like he was past his prime. It's exciting for me to see a new, young, dual threat. I'm excited.
Before we move on to the schedule, you talk about defensive line, but we never mentioned your two. Weren't these guys back-to-back draft picks? Atata this guy and Jamal Woods.
It's easy for you to say his name. It's also easy for me. I still have not figured out exactly how to say his name. Yes, I'm excited about him. Super talented guy, and I expect big things out of him. He was also there were so many in this draft that I'm like, man, this could be a real steal in the draft. And we'll just have to wait and see. I know it's easy to be super pumped about your team's picks. It's great to be super optimistic, and I feel that way about a lot of these picks in this draft. I will say, I feel like this is the best draft we've had since that Quentin Nelson, Shaq Leonard, and the other guys that were in that draft class. I feel like this is the best draft class we've had since then, and so I am excited about a lot of picks. Let's hit a record.
Right, yep,
Let's hit records.
Our schedule. Yep.
All right, who we starting? Us
Jaguars.
Jags. I think we've already selected this one, right?
No, we're hit the Jaguars next.
Oh, the Jaguars. You're right. Jaguars are next. All right. I'm not gonna like always start off here because it would be too easy for me to always jump in. Why don't you guys start on this?
I think the Jaguars. I mean, the Colts are just starting out. We don't, like you said, with a lot of other teams with rookies, or mostly the Broncos, but we don't know what we know when we don't know what we know out of the Colts yet, if that makes sense. So and we already know what the Jaguars have. They have a perennial team that could make the playoffs and make a late playoff push if they just put these pieces together. And I think they come out strong.
I agree.
Yeah. I think if there's a statement game that they will want to get out there and punch somebody in the face, it's this one. But I don't think they're quite there at the beginning of the year. And so they might be more competitive than some people expect, but I think the Jags might get this one. So I'm putting that as a loss for Indy. I'm going to go and start this next one. I think Indy's going to get a win over CJ Stroud in week 2.
We already did this.
Oh, we already did this. So see?
Yeah. See,
I still agree.
Week 2 and week 3 are week 2 is a win. Week 3 is a loss. Sorry.
I agree with both of those because I picked those. All right. How about number 4? We got the Rams. The Rams who were expected to be so great after their Super Bowl year and ended up winning like 4 games.
4 or 5.
I think with this
bad.
one, it's important to know, is Matthew Stafford playing again?
Exactly. And
Is
is
he
Cooper
playing?
Kupp healthy?
Is he back?
Yeah, because when Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp were playing, I mean, it was a show to watch. It was amazing.
I think if they have to figure something out. Matthew Stafford is going to be good or not between week 1 and 3. If he's healthy enough to play or if he's healthy enough to be good. You know what I mean? If not, maybe they put in Stetson Bennett. But let's say they figure it out. Let's be as optimistic as possible. I think they figured things out by week 4, and I think they get a win here.
So Matthew Stafford is back. We know this. Have we seen him throwing?
Another part of it I want to go to is, as good as we have confidence in that Colts offensive line, we also have confidence that it's going to take 3 people to stop Aaron Donald on every play. So
Exactly.
it's
I
how
don't
fast
know that I said we have confidence in that line yet. We want to see confidence in that line.
Oh, sorry, my bad. We want to see confidence that we don't see yet, and we've seen confidence in Aaron Donald, and most teams put 3 guys on him, 2 linemen and a running back, and so it's going to depend how quickly. Let's assume Anthony Richardson has adapted to the game. It's, right. I mean, quite literally, he'll probably be talking about it for most of his career. On my 4th overall start, I had to face Hall of Famer, greatest defensive lineman of his generation, Aaron Donald.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be very difficult to adjust to that just from the sheer talent from one player on that line.
Agreed. I'm going to give the Rams the win here, and it's all because Matthew Stafford goes by Matthew instead of Matt, like me. So Matthew Stafford, Matthew Thomas, going for a loss for the Colts there. Number 5, week 5.
I think the Colts bounce back on this one. I mean, like you were saying, like the Titans only have so much. Once they're like you were saying, running back, Derrick Henry. He's getting old. He's getting tired. I know that's what they're leaning on every single game, but he can't do it every game. He's going to decrease in production. And Ryan Tannehill is not the guy. And I don't think they start Will Levis by this point. It'd be kind of cool if they did, because we'd see a Will Levis, Anthony Richardson showdown, but I don't think that they do at this point. I think the Colts win.
I can go with that.
Is this at Colts or at Titans?
It's at Indy.
This is tough because here's the thing. If this was the game he was starting against Will Levis, I would be more inclined to say the Colts would win. I think Ryan Tannehill, even though he's not the future, I think he's smarter. He knows how to throw well. And if he's still healthy, I think it's going to be harder for the Colts. But the fact that it's at home, I think leans a little bit in Colts' favor. I don't know if Ryan Tannehill's playing and Josh Henry, Derrick Henry is, still somewhat fresh in game 5. I almost want to give this one to the Titans and then give the next one to the Colts. Because if they switch in the middle and Will Levis is playing, where is that game? Down 13, at 13?
Week 13, yep.
I mean, I think the switch will have happened by then. Derrick Henry will have more chance to have been injured a little bit or at least run down by then. I know that second one's at Tennessee, but I'm more inclined to give Tennessee the early win.
All right, I can switch. I can see that. I can do a whatchamacallit, a 1-1.
You okay with that, Brandon?
Yeah, it works for me.
All right, we're going to
go ahead
give
and
the
mark
Colts
both of them right now.
Another loss. What week is the other one? 13?
13, yeah.
Give them a win down there. All right, how about week 6?
At Jacksonville.
I still think Jacksonville takes this one.
Me too. I mean,
that's who we played the first week?
Yep.
Yes. At Jacksonville, week 6.
This week, yeah.
Man, it's going to be a hard year for the Colts to lose twice to Jacksonville again. But I could see it happening.
Yeah. Week 7 was a loss. Week 8 is...
this is at the Colts?
This is
Cleveland. The
No.
right side is the home team.
Right side is home team, yeah.
So week 6 is at Jags.
Yep.
I want to say I think the Colts will beat the Jags once just out of sheer determination, but I don't know if I can pick either one of those games for the Colts. I'm going to have to give it a loss. So it's going to be the Jags that take week 6. Sadness. Notice I'm not being too homer here as much as I really want to.
That's what we like.
Week 7, Browns, we have already said it's going to win, so that's a loss for the Colts, right? Week 8.
This one intrigues me. I could see it going either way. This is about the halfway point of the season. It's going to depend on Richardson's development to this point. This is when they typically start to get comfortable in the league. And so I could see an upset with Indianapolis winning this game. Yeah. But without, Isaiah Rodgers that is not playing this whole season. Is Michael Thomas back?
Exactly. Is Michael Thomas
Derek
back?
Carr is playing.
Yeah, so you're going to have Juju Brent and Darius Slay probably, and I don't know who else. The rookies. How they're going to hook up against Michael Thomas. That's going to be
if he plays. And if not, it's Chris Olave, which is even tougher.
Is still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or both of them.
I think the Saints win this. I mean, like we've been talking about this a lot, but like, let's say both of them. Let's always be optimistic about this. This whole scenario. Let's say this person plays. Let's say this. But I think Michael Thomas plays. I think he's back by now, and I think it's going to be a trouble for the Colts without their cornerbacks.
Okay, I can go with that. Week 9, though, I'm gonna say when they meet up, the Colts are juiced.
Yeah,
I think they beat Frank Reich.
Is
I do too.
juiced,
I do too.
But I think the Colts are going to beat them. And because
we
it's
had your
also
Germany
like, you didn't pick Anthony Richardson number 1 overall. We're going to show you what Anthony Richardson can do. And I think he's going to be like turned loose that week. We'll see.
We have your Germany game. We have marked as a loss to the Patriots. Then you go.
Yeah, we actually.
To a bye week.
I think we actually, if I remember right, we actually had the Colts winning this one, and then let's go say the Patriots. It was Patriots and at Commanders, and we had them winning Commanders, and then we had Colts, and we were like, we can't see them losing both games, so we switched to the Patriots. I think.
I didn't follow that, but I'm going to go with your word on it.
I'll have to go back.
Too many teams in there that I couldn't see, but we got the Patriots. They're in Germany. Bernard Ryman's from Germany. That's going to be a tough one. I don't know. I think the Colts could play that one hard, but if we already have the Patriots winning that, I will leave it. So that brings us to a bye week.
Did they lose?
I think the Colts win the bye.
Yep.
I think they beat Tampa Bay.
I do too.
Yep, I can see that coming back. Tampa Bay's just not looking great right now.
Then we have a loss to the Bengals,
Wait, on week
Or
13,
sorry,
we already have a win.
We
Win,
would
win,
win, yeah,
win
sorry.
against the Titans, loss against the Bengals. I think that's still fair.
I
Win
do.
against the Steelers. I think that's still fair.
Mhm.
And I think they
They lose.
beat Atlanta
I think they
and
lose.
they lose to Vegas.
I think they lose both, actually.
Let me think about this. Vegas right now has who as their quarterback?
We don't know.
It should be Jimmy Garoppolo, but it depends on his million things.
Physical.
They also have Devontae Adams that put up 350 yards with
And Hunter
Chase
Renfro.
Keenum as quarterback,
Yeah.
or Case Keenum as quarterback.
So,
Josh Jacobs, very
Yep.
consistent, excellent running back. They have
They
a
have
pretty solid offensive line.
their defense.
It just
is
depends
really,
who from the Raiders is going to be arrested this season.
Okay.
right.
You still have solid players on offense. They just signed Jacoby Myers, and we're getting into the Raiders because we're supposed to go with them next week, but we're talking about them now. Hunter Renfro still, Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams. They just signed OJ Howard and Austin Hooper, so they have an offense. I think the question is their defense going to be able to, keep up with the Colts offense if they explode at some point? The Colts offense starts getting things going at some point.
I think it's a win against Atlanta, lost against Vegas. I think they split those two games.
I can go with that. Let's go with a win-loss. And then we have a win at the end, which gives them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins.
7.
So I had them as a 6 to 7 win in my team in my mind. And
Yeah,
so
me too.
That falls right in. So we have 7 wins. That means 10 losses. No ties.
Well,
okay, 7 and 10 team. Let's
go
on.
Well, before we do, because we always like to congratulate and lift up how great Adam Rank's predictions are. He had the Colts going 3-14.
Yeah, I think that's a little low.
That's a little low.
If we were betting people, I would go over that. They're over 3-14.
Me too.
The thing is, I think the Colts and almost everybody who's ranking anything, when you get to the Colts, they always say the same thing. We just don't know. We just don't know. And it's because nobody knows what Anthony Richardson's going to be. So,
and that's been since Andrew Luck left, right? Because they knew Andrew Luck was going to be good.
Yeah.
Like that was established for a while. He came in.
The thing is, I think there was high expectations both with Phillip Rivers
and Carson Wentz.
Maybe Carson Wentz. Matt
well,
Ryan, I know
Carson Wentz
definitely...
because he was reuniting with Frank Reich, where he had his MVP caliber season.
All three of those people had higher expectations, and that made the losing all the worse. I know we didn't do so bad with Phillip Rivers, but he was 1 and out. We knew that. But this year, I don't think those expectations are so high. I think people are intrigued by Anthony Richardson, but the expectations are incredibly low. So the nice thing is I think we will feel happier this year regardless of how much we win because expectations are already low. Let's go into the Jags. We got, here, I guess I can pop us over here and say, all right, we're heading for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look at that awesome Duval cat right there. Josh, take us away. What do we got for the Jags?
I mean, they're still the same team as they were last year. They're going to make the playoffs. We're probably going to win the division. I mean, we have them at 7 based off every other game we've predicted with the AFC East, South, and North. We have them at 7-2. I don't see them falling off. They still have a great quarterback. Etienne is still a great running back. I think he's going to have a breakout year in his third year because he was injured his first year. You just got Calvin Ridley. I mean, he looks great.
Big. Yeah.
Yep. He looks great. He looks like he hasn't missed a beat in practice whenever I've seen the film. You still have Christian
Calvin
Kirk.
Ridley, by the way, was our last year's suspension gambler, right? Yeah.
You still have Zay Jones and Christian Kirk, who we all said Christian Kirk was going to get overpaid. He reset the market, but I mean he performed up to his expectations contract wise. You're lacking at tight end a bit. Unless Brenton Strange is a rookie, so I don't really have anything to say about him. But these two guys, I only know Sami's Reyes because he was on the Commanders at one point, and he was like an international player from, I think, Chile. Yeah, it says Chile right there. So that's the only reason I know about him, but he never was an impact on the team. you still have a solid offensive line. I know Cam Robinson suspended a bit, but you just drafted. I know they drafted a tackle mid-round. I can't remember which one of these two guys it was, but these two guys, one of these two guys is probably going to be on the other side of Cam Robinson even when he returns. Brandon Scherf, a former Commander Redskin, plays great when he's not injured, but the question is he going to stay healthy? And if he stays healthy, this offensive line is solid with Tyler Shatley at the middle as well.
There's also Cole Van Lannon, who they traded for last season from the Green Bay Packers.
Green Bay Packers
drafted to Green Bay. Also, kind of played tight end for us, so he's kind of that dual threat there.
So, Doug Peterson in his second year, and we saw like such a leap from his first year to what's his face's horrible year the year before. Urban Meyer, yeah. So Doug Peterson, I think, makes a difference for this team. He's an aggressive coach. He does things right, and I think they responded well to that stability. So I expect growth from them again this year. So let's just go through and see what we got win-loss wise.
All right. Week 1 is already a win. We already said that.
I think they lose to Kansas City.
I do too.
Yep.
They have 2 back-to-back international games.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Week 3. Week 3 is a win.
Yeah, they beat Atlanta on week 4.
Yeah, I was trying to favor Atlanta for some reason because I'm so high on them like this year, but
what was week 3? I'm sorry, you already scrolled off of it
the
before
Texans.
I could get it. Okay, so we got a win against the Texans. We have a win against the Falcons. We have a loss to Buffalo already, right? Then we have a win against the Colts. And that brings us to week 7.
I think the Saints win.
I do too. I think they come off. I mean, I think Derek, this is Derek Carr. He's always been solid, and I think the Jaguars are just going to be a little bit too full of themselves, if that makes sense. And I think they kind of are overconfident and they lose, but just made too many mistakes or something like that.
Okay, so that was week 7. Week 8, we have them beating the Steelers already, right? So that's a win. In week
they win
8.
the bye week.
Bye week. Okay. And then 10.
This is an intriguing matchup for me because
San Francisco versus.
I still like San Francisco.
I do
as
too.
a team. I mean, Kyle Shanahan does not skip a beat. It doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. It could be CMC. But San Francisco is going to be a force to be reckoned with this season, and I give them the edge over Jacksonville.
I have San Francisco, yeah.
Week 11, we might have already made the switch.
I think they beat Tennessee.
I do too.
I agree. Week 12, we already have them winning against the
Houston.
Texans. And then we have a loss to the Bengals, a win against the Browns, which we had already selected, and a win against Baltimore in 15, and a loss against. Oh no, you were just hovered over Tampa Bay.
Yeah. No, not a
Against
chance.
Tampa Bay. I
Not
feel
a
like that
chance.
would be a win.
Yeah, me too.
I think they win out.
I think they split with Tennessee.
Split with Tennessee.
I don't know. I think of all the teams in the AFC South that might not split with Tennessee, the Jags. Did we have Texans beating Tennessee either time?
I don't think so.
So I think they lost both, right? Oh,
no,
did we
they
have
won one. They have won week 17 because we were like, I remember we were like, is Will Levis going to start this game? And we have them splitting with the Colts as well.
Right. So I feel like the Jags are the ones that are not going to split with the Titans. I think the Jags might win.
Okay.
Both.
So we have them at overall. That was pretty quick, but we have them at 12-5, which is a little.
Just a tad high.
I was to say that just
maybe
me, just a bet. I was thinking the split would make it more realistic.
Let's go with that because I think 11-6 is a little more.
Is a little more, yeah.
A little more believable from what they were last year.
Before we move on to our final team, the Titans, the Jaguars, Adam Rank predicted them at 9-8.
So we have them at 11. Okay. All right. Let's hit these Titans. Talk about that roster, Brandon. Why don't you start there?
All right. The biggest question is who's going to be quarterback? They have three guys that I think any one of them could be quarterback. They have Will Levis, who they drafted in the top of the second round this year, Ryan Tannehill, that's been longtime NFL veteran playing for multiple teams, and Malik Willis, who they got last season and did play some games last season as well.
I just gave up.
Yeah, it's so uncertain on who's going to be starting at quarterback. Maybe all three of them get playing time this season. I think they do go into the season with three quarterbacks. That's my big bold prediction for them. For running backs, obviously you have Derrick Henry. No one else matters. Receivers, Treylon Burks, who was supposed to be this big A.J. Brown replacement that was not. They drafted him as a rookie expecting the same output. After they said, A.J. Brown, we don't want to pay you that money. Trade him to
That was
Philly.
their biggest mistake.
Yeah, they trade him to Philly. Well, guess what? He looks great. So, yeah, that's a tough one. They went to the Super Bowl last year. We know the outcome. They lost. Kansas City won. They got their rings recently. Congratulations, MVS, for getting a Super Bowl ring. I think their receiving core is pretty. They don't really know what it is.
Right.
Same with their tight ends. They're trying to figure out this offense. The defense has been a solid core group for a while, and I don't expect that to change. I expect top 10 to 15 defense in the league.
Yeah.
They're not going to be turning heads and creating these brand new things, but they're going to be really consistent in what they're able to do.
They kept their guys. They kept they still have probably a top 5 defensive tackle defensive in the league with Jeffrey Simmons. You kept Tart. You kept I think it was Nikolai Jones, but you also added Aziz Ashir, inside linebacker. You got Danico Autry at outside. You got Harold Landry at outside. So you got a pretty solid offensive or outside linebacker and linebacker core. Defensive line is kind of skeptical, but the quarterbacks is kind of also skeptical. I mean, they signed at Sean Murphy Bunting. They still have Caleb Farley, which we're waiting to see if he breaks out. They have Kevin Byard, which is probably a top 3 free safety in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so their secondary is actually pretty good. I think their defensive line is the most worried I'd be about this defense.
Yeah, they're not turning heads with what they're doing on their defense, but it's going to be consistent week to week.
We're saying basically the defense, if the offense sucks, this defense is probably going to win in those close games if it comes down to it.
Yeah, it's an upper middle half sort of defense, 10 to 15, somewhere in there.
All right, let's get to the picks. Week 1, Saints.
Opening in New Orleans.
Well, I do not see them looking at, because we already predicted 2 of these games. I can probably predict the second one. I do not see them losing 4 straight. I think they win. They open up with a win.
Yeah, I can see it opening a win. I do not think they beat the Chargers.
I don't either.
In week 2, though.
Okay, so we're giving them a win against New Orleans, a loss against the Chargers. We already have a loss against the Browns. We have a loss against the Bengals. We have a win against the Colts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Early. And then we
an
have
international loss against
to the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep. An early bye week 7.
7,
yep.
A bye. And then the first game after a long stretch we're going to pick here, them versus the Falcons in week 8.
This is such a tough one with how their offense is right now. Derrick Henry's already going to have 200 touches by this time of the season. Easily. Is he still healthy? Let's assume he is. I don't know. I might still see a tie in this game.
For against the Falcons?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to put them as a win.
I will too. Because, well, one, they're coming off a bye, so they're, extra, quote unquote, extra healed, as you might want to say. But I talk about the Falcons a lot, and I know I do because I think that the NFC South is so bad that they have a chance. But I just think that run stopping defense is really, really good in Tennessee, and I think they're going to be weighing heavily. If Desmond Ridder can't get things worked out, they're going to be relying heavily on Bijan Robinson and Cordell Patterson to run the ball, and I just don't think it works out this game.
Okay.
All right. So we got a loss to the Steelers and then Tampa Bay.
I call an
It's
upset.
hard to pick Tampa
I think
Bay.
I'm calling the upset. I'm calling an upset. I think I'm picking Tampa Bay on this one.
You
I'm
are.
also picking Tampa Bay, and here's
Alright.
my reason. I have no confidence in the Tennessee offense, but I have
yeah.
all the confidence in the Tampa Bay defense.
It's
It's going to
Yeah.
be a super low scoring game. I'm not confident
will.
in either offense, but Tampa Bay still has a top 7 defense, and we cannot discount that.
I was saying the same thing, but I also put into consideration that we don't know the quarterback situation in Tampa Bay. We also know that Ryan Tannehill is reliable, but we also know that if Baker Mayfield's starting and he has the talent around him. He has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. What's their running back's name? Whatever. I can't remember his name, but
Leonard Fournette.
no, I think he's gone. I think it's like that Rashid White guy or something like that. But whoever it is, I just think they have too much offensive firepower for the Titans defense to keep up, and they have too much defensive firepower. If offensive firepower, if Baker Mayfield gets things going, but too much defensive firepower for the Titans to not actually do something successful or to do something successful.
So we've got them losing in week 10.
Mm-hmm.
And then in week 11, we have them losing. Week 12, I'm going to say they're going to lose. I think this is Bryce Young against Will Levis. I think the Carolina Panthers beat them here.
Yeah, I would say so.
I'll go for it.
13, we already have as a loss. 14, we have as a loss to the Dolphins. 15, we have as a win against the Texans. That brings us to 16 against Seattle.
I think Seattle
I like Seattle in this game.
Yeah.
Seattle looks good.
And so they've
17.
got a win against the Texans and then, a loss against the Texans and a win against the Jags, we said, right at the end. That gives them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 win season.
I got 5.
Let me look here. I had week 1, week 5, week 8, week 11.
Nope.
Week 5.
Week 11's a loss to Jacksonville.
Oh. Loss. Okay, so a 5-win season.
Yep.
I'd say that's pretty good. We have our buddy at the NFL, Adam, who thought it was a 4-win season. So we can almost agree on that.
Almost.
So if all goes according to our predictions, make sure you save this, Josh, so all these get saved. But we have a 4-win season with 1 tie in there by Houston. We have a 5-win season by the Titans, a 7-win season by the Colts, and then the Jags winning the division at 11 wins and seeing where they go from there. Well, guys, what do you think? You feel good with those ending predictions?
Yeah.
I think people should go place money on it. That's how good I feel.
You mind
advise the opposite. Please do not place money on any of this.
Yeah, don't credit us unless it's accurate. If it's wrong, we don't want to hear about it.
The faith I have in my ability to predict this, I would not suggest putting money on this just yet. But I do feel like we're in the right direction, the right ballpark with these, right? All right, guys. Well, that was the AFC South and an exciting one to watch next year just because of the new quarterbacks. Next week, we're going to hit the AFC West. Be sure to join us on the Football Pandemic. And I need to take us out of there.